My name is Amina Nkosi, and I've always carried the heat of the African sun in my veins, even here in the cool, rainy streets of Seattle. Born in Johannesburg, raised amid the dusty markets and vibrant townships, I fled to America 10 years ago, chasing dreams that shimmered like mirages on the horizon. Now, at 35, I'm a curator at a small museum downtown, piecing together artifacts from my homeland for wide-eyed tourists who think Africa is just lions and safaris. But my life? It's become a quiet routine, coffee in the morning, exhibits by day, empty apartment by night, until Elijah. He wasn't like the men I'd known back home, those broad-shouldered warriors with voices like thunder. Elijah was young, barely 22, with a boyish charm that hid something deeper, something shadowed. I first saw him at the museum's annual gala, a fundraiser for African art preservation. He stood out in the crowd of suited donors, his slim frame in a borrowed tux, his dark eyes scanning the room like he was searching for a lost treasure. His skin was a warm brown like mine, but his accent screamed American, Brooklyn. He later told me, though he'd moved out west for college. "Beautiful piece," he said, nodding at the Zulu mask on display. His voice was soft, almost hesitant, but there was a spark in it that made me turn. I was in my element that night, draped in a red kente cloth dress that hugged my curves, my braids piled high like a crown. "Thank you," I replied, smiling politely. "It's from the early 1900s. Symbolizes protection against evil spirits." He chuckled, a low sound that sent an unexpected shiver down my spine. "Does it work? Because I could use some protection right now." I raised an eyebrow. "From what?" "From making a fool of myself in front of a stunning woman." His grin was infectious, boyish yet bold. I laughed, surprised at how easy it felt. We talked for hours that night, about art, about life. He was studying anthropology at the university, fascinated by African cultures, he said. His passion mirrored mine, but there was an innocence to him, a wide-eyed wonder that reminded me of the boys back in my village. Before the world hardened them, days turned into weeks, and Elijah became a fixture in my life. He'd show up at the museum after classes, helping me catalog new arrivals, his hands gentle with the fragile pottery. We'd grab coffee afterward, strolling through Pike Place Market, where the fishmonger's shouts echoed like township calls. He made me feel alive again, like the girl who danced under starlit skies in Soweto. But there was always that age gap lingering, a whisper in the back of my mind. He was young, full of dreams. I was seasoned, scarred by a failed marriage and the ache of homesickness. One evening, as rain pattered against my apartment window, he kissed me. It was tentative at first, his lips soft against mine, but then it deepened, a fire igniting that I hadn't felt in years. "Amina," he murmured, pulling back, his eyes searching mine. "I know I'm younger, but it feels right." I cupped his face, tracing the line of his jaw. "Age is just a number, Elijah. But life's complicated." That was the understatement of the century. What I didn't tell him then was about the shadows from my past. Back in South Africa, I'd been involved with a man named Thabo, an activist turned criminal. We'd fought against apartheid's remnants. But he crossed lines, smuggling, extortion. When I left him, he swore revenge. I'd changed my name, crossed oceans, but sometimes I'd catch a glimpse of a stranger watching me too long, or find anonymous notes in my mailbox. You can't hide forever. I pushed those thoughts away as Elijah and I grew closer. Our romance was a whirlwind of stolen moments. Picnics in Discovery Park, where he'd read poetry to me in his smooth voice. Late-night drives along the Puget Sound, his hand on my thigh sending sparks through me. He was attentive, almost too much so, remembering little things like my favorite tea from the African market or the way I liked my eggs scrambled with chili. But suspense crept in slowly, like fog rolling off the water. It started with small things. I'd noticed my phone lighting up with unknown numbers, calls that disconnected when I answered. Then, one night after dinner at my place, where I'd cooked boba tea, a spicy mince dish from home, Elijah found a photo on my doorstep. It was old, grainy, me and Thabo, arms linked, smiling in Johannesburg. Scrawled on the back, "He knows where you are." My heart hammered as I snatched it away. "It's nothing," I lied, forcing a smile. "Old friend playing a prank." Elijah frowned, his youthful face creasing with concern. "Amina, that doesn't look like a prank." "Who's he?" I waved it off, pulling him inside, distracting him with kisses that led to more. In bed, his body was lithe and eager, exploring mine with a reverence that made me forget the fear. But as he slept beside me, his chest rising and falling peacefully, I stared at the ceiling, wondering if I'd dragged him into my nightmare. The next day, I confronted my fears. I called an old contact in South Africa, a former colleague from the museum world. "Thabo's out," she whispered over the crackling line. "Released from prison last month. He's asking about you." Panic clawed at me. I couldn't let Elijah get hurt. He was too young, too pure for this mess. But as days passed, the incidents escalated. My car tires slashed in the museum parking lot. A shadowy figure following us home from a movie. Elijah noticed, his protectiveness kicking in like a switch. "Let me stay over more," he insisted, his arms wrapping around me tightly. "I won't let anything happen to you." I wanted to believe him, but doubt niggled. How had Thabo found me so quickly? I'd been careful. No social media, no ties back home. Then, one afternoon, while Elijah was in class, I rifled through his backpack, hating myself for it. Buried under notebooks, I found a burner phone. My hands shook as I powered it on. Recent calls, international numbers, prefixed with +27, South Africa. Betrayal hit like a slap. Was Elijah involved? Had he been sent by Thabo? The thought twisted my gut. But why the romance? Why the tenderness? I confronted him that evening, the phone in my hand like evidence. "What's this?" I demanded, my voice steady despite the storm inside. He paled, sinking onto the couch. "Amina, it's not what you think." "Then explain," I shouted, tears burning my eyes. He ran a hand through his hair, looking every bit the scared boy. I'm not who you think I am. My real name is Elias Thompson. I came to Seattle for school, but also to find you." My world tilted. "Find me? Why?" "Because," he said, his voice breaking, "Thabo is my uncle. He raised me after my parents died. He told me you stole from him. Artifacts, money. Sent me to get close, retrieve what was his. But Amina, meeting you, falling for you, it changed everything. I haven't told him anything real. I've been stalling, protecting you. Lies upon lies. Suspense thickened the air between us. Was he telling the truth now? Or was this another layer of deception? I backed away, grabbing my keys. "Get out." "Amina, please!" "Out!" I screamed, my African fire roaring to life. He left, shoulders slumped, but as the door clicked shut, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. The boy was a warning. "I'm coming for you next." I sank to the floor, heart pounding. Elias, had brought danger to my door, but had he also become my ally? The romance I'd craved now tangled with suspense, a web I couldn't escape. As night fell over Seattle, I knew this was far from over. Thabo was closing in, and the young man I'd trusted held the key to my survival, or my downfall. I didn't sleep that night. Seattle rain hammered the windows like angry fists, and every creak in the old building sounded like footsteps. I sat on the kitchen floor with my back against the cabinets, a carving knife in one hand and my phone in the other, watching the screen for any sign of life from Elias. Nothing. I'd blocked his real number, his fake number, every number I could think of. But the silence felt worse than the threats. At 4:17 a.m., the power went out. Pitch black. The fridge stopped humming. My heart slammed so hard I tasted metal. I knew it wasn't there. I crawled to the window, parted the blinds with 2 fingers. Streetlights were still on. Just my apartment. Someone had flipped the breaker in the basement. I grabbed the go bag I'd kept packed since Johannesburg. Passport. Cash. A flash drive with scanned documents. And the small .38 revolver I swore I'd never need in America. I was slipping on my shoes when the front door rattled, once, testing the lock. Then a soft knock. 3 times. "Amina," Elias whispered through the wood. "It's me, please." I pressed the barrel to the door. "You have 5 seconds to convince me not to shoot through this." "I brought proof," he said, voice cracking. "About Thabo, about everything." "I'm alone." I cracked the door, chain still on. Rainwater dripped from his hood. His eyes were red, like he'd been crying or hadn't slept either. He held up a manila envelope. "Open the chain or don't," he said. "But if you want to live past sunrise, you need what's inside." I let him in. He didn't try to touch me. Smart boy. He laid the envelope on the coffee table and stepped back, hands raised. I tore it open. Photos. Dozens of them. Me leaving the museum, me at the grocery store, me kissing him in Discovery Park, all taken from a distance. On the back of each, in Thabo's handwriting I'd know anywhere. Dates. Times. Notes about my routines. The last photo was new, taken yesterday. Me asleep on my couch. Window open. A red X over my face. Underneath the photos was a plane ticket. One way, Cape Town. Departure tomorrow. Evening. And a short note. Tell the boy to bring her to SeaTac by 8 p.m. Or I start with him. My knees buckled. Elias caught me before I hit the floor. "He landed 2 days ago," Elias said quietly. He's staying in a motel in Tukwila. I've been feeding him lies, saying you're suspicious, that I need more time. He's lost patience. I shoved him away. Why the hell should I trust you now? Because I'm done being his dog. He pulled up his shirt. Fresh bruises bloomed across his ribs, purple and yellow. He did this when I told him I wouldn't drug you. Said next time it'll be a blade. I stared at the marks. Something in me, the part that once loved fiercely and stupidly, softened. What do you want from me? I asked. I want to end this, he said. Tonight. He laid out the plan like he'd rehearsed it 100 times. Thabo expected Elias to deliver me to a parking garage at SeaTac tomorrow. Elias would go early, alone, tell Thabo I'd run, beg for mercy. While Thabo beat the answers out of him, I'd call the only person I still trusted in the U.S., Special Agent Carla Ruiz, FBI Art Crimes, who'd helped me disappear 10 years ago. She owed me. I'd give her Thabo on a silver platter, international warrant and all. And after? I asked. He looked at me, rain still dripping from his lashes. After I disappear. For real this time. You never see me again. The words hurt more than they should have. We moved at dawn. Elias left first, hoodie up, catching a bus south. I waited an hour, then took a lift in the opposite direction. Doubled back on foot, bought a burner at a gas station. My hands shook as I dialed Carla. Nkosi, she answered, cautious. You're supposed to be a ghost. Ghost just got haunted, I said, and told her everything. She didn't waste time. SeaTac long-term parking garage, level 4. Tomorrow 7:45 p.m. We'll be there. You stay invisible until we have him in cuffs. I hung up, heart racing with something that felt dangerously like hope. But hope is a tricky thing in my life. That evening, Elias texted from his burner. He's early. Level 5 now. Says bring you, or he starts shooting cars till you come out. I stared at the message. Carla had said tomorrow. Thabo had changed the play. I pulled the .38 from my waistband, checked the cylinder, and walked into the rain. Level 5 was almost empty, sodium lights buzzing overhead. I saw them before they saw me. Thabo. Thicker than I remembered. Gold tooth glinting. Gun pressed to the back of Elias's head. Elias on his knees. Blood at his lip. Eyes wide when he spotted me. Thabo smiled like a hyena. There's my queen. 10 years older, still fine as ever. I stopped 10 feet away. Let him go, Thabo. This is between us, he laughed. Nothing's between us anymore, Amina. You humiliated me. Stole what was mine. Now you'll watch the boy die first. He cocked the hammer. I raised my own gun faster. Touch him, and I paint this garage with what's left of your head. For a second, surprise flickered in his eyes. He hadn't expected the quiet curator to come strapped. Then his face hardened. We stood there, 3 points of a bloody triangle, rain hissing on hot metal roofs around us. Then Elias moved, sudden, desperate, slamming his elbow into Thabo's groin. The gun went off, bullets sparking off concrete. I fired once. Center mass. Thabo staggered, eyes wide, looking down at the red flower blooming on his chest. He sank to his knees, still trying to raise the gun. Elias kicked it away, then kicked him again for good measure. Sirens wailed, growing louder. Red and blue lights strobed up the ramp. Carla and her team, earlier than promised. She'd had me tailed after all. Smart woman. They cuffed Thabo while medics worked on him. He'd lived to stand trial. Elias stood apart, hands in his pockets, watching me like I might vanish. Carla walked over. You good? I nodded, throat too tight for words. She glanced at Elias. He part of this? Yes, I said. And no. She understood. We'll need his statement. After that, new names, new lives. Both of you if you want. Elias looked at me, questioning. I stepped closer, rain mixing with tears I didn't bother hiding. You still planning to disappear alone? He swallowed hard. Only if you tell me to. I took his hand. His fingers were ice cold, but they curled around mine like they'd been waiting years. No more disappearing, I said. Not from each other. Behind us, Thabo groaned on a stretcher, finally powerless. Ahead of us, the rain began to ease. The first weak rays of sunrise breaking over the Cascades. I was 35. He was 22. We had bruises, secrets, and a lifetime of running behind us. But for the first time in 10 years, I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I was looking at him. And that was enough.